First, we will start with the basic, which is the operation. So for step 1 is how to turn on the display. So we just have to press the power button for approximately 3 seconds, and then the LCD display will turn on. And then you will be able to toggle with all the parameters that are involved with the scooter operations. Now, if you want to turn on the lights, all you have to do is press the mode button for 3 seconds until the light signal will be projected on the LCD display. So this signal in the LCD is the indication that the LED lights are now operating. And then to check the trip made from turning on the unit and as well as the actual battery voltage, you just have to press the power button once and twice respectively. So there we have odometer as the default in the display. It is the total distance that was traveled by the scooter. And then if we're going to push the power button, we are going to see the trip, which is basically the distance that was traveled by the scooter upon turning on. And if we're going to press the power button again, we're gonna see the actual battery voltage. This value has a corresponding battery percentage. It's basically the higher the battery voltage, the higher the battery percentage. Now we will go back to the default, which is the odometer. Next will be the gear indication, which has a parameter of a number. It is ranging from 1 to 3. So it's the corresponding for the Eco, Drive, and Sports mode. So each gear is preset with different speeds, and for this setup, obviously, we have gear 1 as the slowest and gear 3 as the fastest. So that's it. I think we're finished with the operation. I think we have covered everything. So the next discussion will be the P settings. To access the P settings for this display, we have to press the power and mode button for approximately 3 seconds simultaneously. And there we have it. We have P00 as the start, but this setting doesn't matter. It doesn't have an impact to the scooter setting. For the modification, we only use these two buttons. So basically, we have the power button that is used in jumping to the next setting, while we use the mode button in altering the value of the parameter of the corresponding setting. Now we will jump to P1, which is corresponding to the LCD brightness. Basically, we have 1 as the dimmest and 3 as the brightest. Okay, let's simulate. So as you can see, there is a big difference between the brightness of 3 and 1 setting. Now I will turn it back to 3. I prefer 3 because it is also visible during daylight. You can adjust this according to your preference. Now let's move to P2. So P2 is the setting for the unit of speed. So it is a selection between kilometers per hour and miles per hour. So this one is a user preference. You can select either, whichever you are comfortable with, but typically we use kilometer per hours. Next will be the P3 setting. So this one corresponds to the scooter battery voltage. So we do not recommend changing this one. You need to follow what is in the specification of your scooters. For this case, I am using Hero S8, which has a battery of 48 volts. Next is setting P4, which corresponds to the hibernation time. So it is basically the time wherein the unit is automatically shut off when it is not in use or it is idle. So the default is 5 minutes, and I made mine into 60 minutes or corresponding to an hour. The reason for this is that I do not want my scooter turning off while waiting at the stoplight. Next is P5, which is unused and empty. So we will skip and go to P6, which corresponds to the tire diameter. The unit of measurement is in inches, and this parameter is not recommended to be changed as it will confuse the reading of the speedometer versus the actual speed. Next is P7, corresponding to the number of magnets inside the motor. This one is depending on the specification of scooters. We do not recommend changing this parameter as it may affect the performance of the unit during operation. Now let's proceed to P8. So P8 corresponds to the power limitation of the unit. This is default at 100% because we do want to utilize the 100% capacity of the battery. We do not want to recommend changing this, of course, because it will affect the operation of the unit. You won't be able to utilize the power that is available to the scooter. Next is the P9. So P9 corresponds to the start type of the unit. We have 0 and we have 1. 0 corresponds to the 0 start, while 1 corresponds to the kick start. 0 start is a setting wherein you just need to pull this trigger for the unit to start. And without kick or any external force, the unit will go to an acceleration. Next, setting 1, which is the kick start. So the indication will be non-zero. This means that the unit is on a setup wherein you're going to need an external kick for it to go to an acceleration. Now I am going to turn it back to 0 as this is my preferred setup. So again, this setting is user preference. Next, P10 is unused or empty, so we have to skip. P11 is the electronic braking. So the parameter is ranging from 1 to 5. 1 has the lowest resistance while 5 has the highest resistance. So our recommendation is 3. It's the average electronic braking. Then we have P12. So P12 corresponds to the motor acceleration. We also have the same range of 1 to 5. And obviously we have 1 as the lowest and 5 has the highest acceleration. And this one is a user preference setting. It will be according to your convenience or preference. And then we have P13 and P14. So these two are empty and unused, so we can skip. Next is 15, which is the cutoff voltage. So this one is a critical one. This is dependent to your battery capacity. So we have 48 volts and our cutoff is 41 volts as recommended by the factory. This setting actually protects the battery from being abused. So it will help you to maintain your battery percentage of health up to the maximum. Next will be P16. So P16 corresponds to the odometer reset. So this setting is only used for scooters that has traveled a few kilometers. Typically, this is used by the factory because the factory usually tests the units before distributing them to the customers. Next, P17. So P17 corresponds to the cruise control. We have two parameters, 0 and 1. 0 correspond to the off while 1 is corresponding to the on. Unfortunately, this one is not available to the first generation electric scooters, but now they are considering enabling the option, especially for advanced riders. And in order to activate this, you have to maintain the speed of the unit for approximately 10 seconds and then cruise control mode automatically kicks in. To deactivate, you just have to pull the accelerator or the brake lever. Last will be P18, P19, and P20. So these three settings are unused and empty. So that's it, guys. Should you have any questions, just feel free to contact us 24/7. Thank you for listening.